so shocking. And so sad.
It's just so horrific. And you read about the mother's sentence, but then you look at the former boyfriend's sentence. He only got 3.5 years. And I'm sorry. I mean, on one hand, I believe that women are born to be nurturers and to be the parent, and you want to look after your children. How anybody could actually harm a little baby to the point of tearing its heart, stamping on the child, I mean, it's beyond belief. Now, her former boyfriend only got 3.5 years because he was...
Well, he was actually, the actual conviction, he was found guilty of causing or allowing Ayeeshia's death. So I think a lot of it was that he did nothing to stop it.
I know that, but I'm coming to that point. Yeah. You know, he stood by. What human being could stand by and watch his girlfriend stamping on a child to have injuries like that? I just don't get that, and I firmly believe that he should have got a bigger sentence.
No, I totally agree. He'd be out in a year and a half.
Should have got
yes, he would. A year and a half, he'll be out.
Yeah,
and it brings you to that whole point, doesn't it? And I know you've all got opinions on it, about, you know, if we have any suspicions whatsoever, in any scenario, should we actually report it?
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you should.
Well, because I know it's a really, really... You know, if you've got your suspicions and you think, but what if I'm wrong and I could ruin this whole family's life, you know? But what if you're right? And if you're wrong, it will be sorted out.
Yes.
Nothing will be done. They'll check
I agree
it out
with that.
and it'll be sorted out. But to put it off, and then, I mean, there's so many people, even with this child, that have come forward and said, I wish I'd have reported it. I saw things.
Well, her biological father, who she still saw, actually took photographs of some of the injuries and presented those to social services. This was just weeks before she died, and he said, you know, this kid's at risk. And still, I don't get it. After all the other cases we've seen, you know, Baby P and Daniel Pelker, Victoria Climbié back in 2000, that you think every time you hear a case like that where there were mistakes, they say there's an investigation, lessons will be learned, we must make sure this doesn't happen again.
But here's a point, actually, Ruth, on that very issue. I mean, I was reading the Victoria case going back to the year 2000, and the 400-page report after that event made 108 recommendations in child protection reform. So it makes you wonder if back in 2000 all those reforms were supposed to be put into place. And I know that the authorities do their best. I know that they do, but I'm sorry, there have been an awful lot of cases where little children have died.
I had social services on my case. When Harvey burnt his leg, it was New Year's Eve, and I wasn't there. I was out trying a horse out before we had a party, and when I got home, I could hear him screaming upstairs. So I said to Pete and the nanny at the time, where's Harvey? Well, he's upstairs crying. Someone obviously hadn't shut the gate, and he was upstairs. He's obsessed with water, and because he couldn't see, he turned the tap on and scalded his whole leg. So when he got rushed to hospital, obviously he was in hospital for 3 months, and someone at the first hospital reported me saying that that was neglect, or I must have done it on purpose. I didn't know at this point. Then when he was moved to a London hospital, when I was going to discharge him, they wouldn't let me. They said, I'm really sorry, but we can't let you take him home. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you've been reported, social services has to clear it. So then I had the police come to my house. I had to show them the bath. I mean, it's really embarrassing. You could see the police were embarrassed. In a way, it's good they followed it up, but they could see that it wasn't neglect or whatever, and then they let us take him home. So you'd think in cases like this, I mean, what does it take?
Well, I mean, even the mother at one point said, take this child away from me, I'm a terrible mother.
That's what
my other point.
Yeah, she had a drug addiction.
That's what I was going to get to, the whole drug addiction thing. I think if somebody has a drug addiction and then they have a child, I think they have to, if they don't agree to go into rehab to get their drug addiction sorted, the child should be taken away, because it's always down to drugs.
But you know, on that issue, this child was put into foster care at one point and apparently thrived and flourished. As you say, the biological father actually didn't know the ultimate result until he went to court. So there are so many things that are missed in this case.
The thing is, I have to say, I you know, have huge respect for social workers.
Too.
I think they have a really, really difficult job to do. I mean, you know, there have been a lot of cuts in children's services, as we know, and a lot of the children's charities today. No, but it's not an excuse, Gloria, but it's a contributing factor. And I'm sure if there are social workers watching this, they say their workload is too much, they don't have the manpower. And what I just think there are lots of... We only hear the absolute horrific cases and where it has gone wrong. And I just want to say that... Thank you. most of the time, there are thousands of families that they're dealing with and cases they're dealing with where they're protecting children. And often they try very hard to keep families together. And I think actually if someone has a drug addiction and they get help, I mean, this woman clearly needed help a long time ago. Yeah. And maybe she'd have got that help to be able to kick her drug addiction whilst the child was in foster care, and maybe they could have been put back together.
I think a former boyfriend needs help as well.
I don't feel sorry for any human being to stand by. I don't kick a baby that's screaming. I don't care. Drugs or no
woman at all.
Both of them.
Mother.
No, I don't at all.
I just don't understand now,
things happen to her in prison.
when we've had all these cases before, how it could get this far. You know, because you hear these awful stories as well, and you know, somebody that I know quite well, something happened to her where her daughter had injured herself. It was a very minor injury, and suddenly it was reported at school, and nobody asked her. And all she'd done was fallen over. And before she knew it, she was in this system of it had been reported, and then her GP was called in. She had to go before review. You know, this is a really nice family with no history at all of any kind of neglect or child abuse. And you go, that she got into a terrible situation, which was all cleared at the end. And yet this goes on for months and months with people reporting it, and nothing happens.
And if anyone is watching, even if you're not like young like that and you're getting abused or anything, they should just find help.
If you've enjoyed that, then why not click here for more? And don't forget to subscribe by clicking here so that you never miss out on the best Loose Women moments.
Funny thing is, I was in a vulnerable place, and at the time I thought I had all this confidence and I was taking the world on.
Yep.
I didn't realise I was a shadow of myself. It's taken this show and Jane to, you know, publicly tell me, completely unbiased, she wasn't mean, Jane, whatsoever.